G'day, I'm Reg,
No, I'm Sam.
and we are S.A.R. Adventures.
Alright, good morning everyone.
G'day.
Today is the 11th of July and we are still at Merluna Station. So in this video, we're going to talk about after we left Bloomfield Beach.
Yep.
And we travelled to Cowan and then here. And yeah, what we've been doing since we've been here. So after we left Bloomfield Beach, I wanted to stop at the Lion's Den to... What did I want to stop there for, really?
Because apparently that's what everybody does. We've got to stop there because everybody does.
That's not what I said.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You wanted to have a look at their souvenir shop.
Yeah, and take a photo because I knew that the girls had been there and left their number plate there, and I wanted to get a picture of it, which I did, and posted on Instagram, and they commented, so it was well worth the stop.
Okay.
Reg didn't even get out the car.
No.
So then we left there and we drove to Cowan.
Yeah.
I slept pretty much the whole way because I was still unwell. I still was unwell.
Lovely drive. Got to Cowan.
Well, we stopped somewhere along the way. We must have stopped to use the toilet. Because I got some pictures of an emu.
Well, we were just pulling in there to get something to eat.
People just go to the toilet.
Or the toilet.
But it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, and there's this emu that's just lies down in the car park.
It's so old, but...
And a sign up the front saying...
not to feed him or something.
No, takes his shoes.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's got a shoe fetish.
Yeah.
Where was that?
So we went to Cowan. Our original plan was to stay in Cowan for a couple of days. But when we got there, and we saw the price of everything, it was like, no.
So Cowan didn't have a supermarket as such, but
No.
across from where we were staying was a general store, I think it was.
Yeah, and
petrol station. Yeah. The price of everything. That was when we had our first experience, I think, of frozen bread.
Frozen bread.
Actually, that might have been our first experience was at Bloomfield. I was like, well, they had some frozen there, and I took the fresh one off the shelf.
Yeah, but at least they offered fresh as well as frozen.
Yeah, but at Cowan it was all frozen.
You could not buy just a normal loaf of fresh bread.
No.
They only sold frozen bread. As soon as it defrosted, it was shitty, so it became toast bread. Like not even sandwich bread. It just wasn't good. It was like terrible. And they wanted $51 for a pack of 25 cigarettes for all of those that are smokers. Petrol was $2.
Petrol wasn't too bad though, I don't think.
No, it was $2.70. I think it was about $2.72 or something like that a litre. And yeah, and we were going to spend, like I said, originally we were going to spend a couple of days there, and then spear off up to where we are now at Merluna Station.
No, the original we were going to do the tip from there, I think.
Oh no, you're right.
We hadn't even planned to come here.
But then we, doing a bit of Googling and that, we found that Weeper had a Woolworths, and at least, we thought that, the cost of just your general groceries and that would be about the same as everywhere else. So, Sam done a little bit of searching on her wiki camps. You've got to love that site for those of you that are thinking about doing some travelling. Wiki camps is just excellent, with constant updates from people that use places and photos and that. It gives you a real understanding of where you're going to, as well as I suppose honest reviews of the place, so
But you also got to take that with a grain of salt, because some people might have a bad experience. And complaint.
Oh,
Or they're looking for something and they're not getting it from a certain place, but you'll have a different experience. So I guess the reviews you kind of take with a grain of salt. But if every review is bad, don't go there.
We ended up only doing an overnighter at Cohen, and then speared off. Like I said, Sam found this where we're staying now, Maluna Station camp. So Sam sent in an email.
Yeah, on Wikicamps, people had said they were still closed.
So Sam sent them an email, and they emailed back saying no, that they were open. So we booked in. So driving from Cohen to here, we come across that place, the Archer River petrol station. We pulled up there to get some cash.
One of those.
So this place was $35. No, yeah, $35 a night.
Power.
For power and water. And basically, Michelle, said camp where you like, and she gave us this little secluded area underneath all these trees, which was just like really nice.
It's beautiful. So
we booked in for 6 days for here, knowing that we still had to do some, some fairly big grocery shopping in a Weipa, get ourselves prepped, like the trailer all squared away and the car all squared away for that trip to the tip.
Had an issue when we were in Cohen with the
my power.
Your power, yeah. So we had to get that all sorted.
The road is bitumen all the way to Cohen, but there are a few. Well, the road sign says dips or flood crossings. If you're heading up this way and you see the sign dip, slow right down. I was going to swear then. Slow right down, because some of them are just smooth as, and yet some of them are like mini versions of the Grand Canyon.
I feel like it was dirt on the way to Cohen as well.
No, it was bitumen all the way.
Because I remember us saying...
No, because I said to the woman at the petrol station, I said, is it bitumen from here to Weipa? And she said no.
Yeah, but she also said it's better.
Oh, no, yes, you're right. Sorry, you're right. It was bitumen all the way to...
Laura?
To Laura, that's right.
And then it was...
Yeah, and then it was bitumen dirt to Cohen. Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. When we pulled up at Cohen for that overnight stop, like I got a powered site, plugged the external cord into it, but none of my electrics inside the camper trailer were working. I knew that there was something wrong, but we were only overnighting there. And then the next morning we packed up and we booted off to come here. Again, the road to here was quite good. There was very limited corrugation, but again, some of those dips, one in particular was quite bad. We got here, we set up, we booked in for 6 days. Like I said, we needed to go into into Weipa to do some shopping and just some finalisation of getting ready for our trip up to the tip, as well as budgeting. Budgeting was the big thing, because pretty much north of where we are, the fuel prices just rocket. So only an hour and a half up the road, like as you're heading towards the tip from here on the Telegraph Road, Bramwell?
Yeah.
Bramwell, yeah. Bramwell Junction petrol station, $2.89. When we filled up at the BP at the tip.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'll put the name of it.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the town that we were at.
It started with a B.
That was $2.92 a litre. We knew that we were gonna be forking out some coin for just petrol alone. So we had to sit down and just work out our budgeting and figure out how we were going to be able to do it. So we went to Weipa, did our grocery shopping. I had to buy a circuit tester so I could go through my electrics in my trailer to find out where the mistake or where the problem was with it. I rang my brother Terry to sort of get his advice on what he thinks might be the problem after I explained to him what happened. And he was quite right. The problem is with my inverter. The 240 outlets on my inverter is just not working. So the bottom line is that I need to replace the inverter in the trailer. But in saying that, with what we're doing, and most of the time, most of the places that we're staying at, we're going to be able to have powered sites. So with the powered sites, I'm still able to run power in through my DC to DC, which means that I can constantly keep my batteries charged. I don't have to rely purely on the solar. So that side of it works, which basically is all we need. As far as the 240 outlet goes, we don't really use the 240 outlets anyway. So unless we were going to, you know, be charging up our GoPro batteries or something like that, we've just decided not to worry about replacing the inverter. It's doing the job that it's meant to do. Which
and if
means,
we're not in a powered site, we're only overnighting usually anyway. So it's no drama.
You know, 2 days. So you know, not enough to worry the system that I've got. So, but that was only the start of the damage. There's walk tracks that the Maluna station have got marked on a map that you can grab off them, and you can go for walks. And just down below us, about 200 metres down below us, there's quite a large dam, and they were saying that they've got a salty living in the dam, and you know, for like pretty much every day we would go for our, it's about a K and a half walk that they've got, and every day we'd go down there and have a look at the dam, and you know, like, I couldn't see any tracks, I couldn't see any slide marks of this salty that they apparently have.
There was no evidence.
No, there just wasn't. And then just through blind luck, yesterday we went for a walk because we discovered that they've got pigs and turkeys. So we went over to have a look at their pigs and their turkeys, and then as we were walking back from that, we sort of strolled down towards the dam, and then Sam spotted it. We were about 60 metres from the dam, and so it's very skittish. It's a very skittish croc. Sam spotted it as it sort of did that sudden movement and then started to slide back into the dam, and Sam says, there it is. And when I looked, all I got was just sort of the last little bit of its tail going into the water. So we can confirm they do have a salty in that dam.
So we're still at Maluna station, and we were told when we came here that in the dam there was a croc. And so every day we've been coming, well, every time we go for a walk, we've been coming down and having a look. Can't see it. We started thinking that they were lying, that they were fibbing to us. Because we were like, how does a croc get down here in the dam? Reg's over here. He's a bit... There's the dam there. And we just saw him. We just saw him slide off the bank and go in. But now we can't see him.
He won't swim this way.
No, I'm looking over the other side of the bank. Thought maybe... You reckon?
Yeah. All wild animals go away from danger.
Well, are we not food?
No.
He does...
In there we would be food, out here we're a predator.
Oh. I mean, I wouldn't think he'd be that fussy. Where was he when he slid in though?
Just up there near the lily.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Yeah, just this side of the lily.
Okay. Oh, somewhere in here is a croc, and we saw him. Now we know he's real.
Yeah.
And we're going to come back and see it and try and get a picture.
Maybe if we come down here with the torch, we might pick up its eyes.
At night time. That's my second time seeing a real life croc in the wild.
We hardly made a noise in it.
I'm a regular Steve Irwin.
Oh.
Not really.
From what everybody, like all the staff here, are saying, that they estimate it to be about a 2 metre salty, and they have found like chewed up wallaby in the dam from it feeding. So Yep. So there's Sam spotted her second.
Yes.
Her second crocodile.
In the wild. In the wild.
We decided through doing all of our maths and doing all of our budgeting and all that, we decided that.
And a tiny bit of frustration of not going anywhere. We feel like we've been in, not just that we've been in this spot, but we've been at the top end for so long. We just want to go and see the rest of Queensland and whatnot.
What we decided to do was I went and had a talk to Michelle, the station owner.
Yeah.
Michelle basically takes care of all the camping side of Maluna Station, and Cameron he runs the working side of the farm. So I had to talk to Michelle and asked her if it was all right if we just left our van here. At that we were going to go for a drive to the tip, and then and do the tip possibly overnight somewhere along the road. We were just going to crash in the car somewhere along the road and then come back the next day, which Michelle said wasn't a problem. So we decided to do it as a day trip. The ferry is $110 for just the car, or it's $175 if you're towing something. So we saved ourselves $65 by just taking the car up, as well as the money that we saved in petrol, because we're not pulling 2 ton while we're driving. We got up at 5:30 on the Friday just gone. I can't even remember what that date was. So on Friday the 9th
we got up at 5 because we left at 5:30.
Yeah, so we got up at 5, hit the road at 5:30. It was 393 k's from here to Punsan, because you can't on the GPS. I couldn't find the tip on my GPS. It just kept sending me to South Australia, or Victoria, somewhere like that. So I put in on the GPS to go to Punsan Bay. So we headed off. We pulled up at Bramwell Junction because we needed fuel. I'll just backtrack. The fog was so thick. It was like soup. There was a B-double that was, I had to stop at the intersection of the property and the main highway for this truck to go past. So then when we come out, we were right behind him, and pretty much everybody, trucks and cars, everybody basically sits on channel 40 up here, and the truckies are great. They'll just jump on the radio, they'll see you behind them, and they'll just jump on the radio and say, come around. This truckie did the same thing. He said that he would slow down a little bit, and it was clear for us to come around. How he saw that, I don't know, because of how thick the fog was. It was just ridiculous. And then basically, not because of the road, but because of how thick the fog was, we were only doing 60 k's.
Yeah.
Then we took the turn off to head north, and we went up. We got to Bramwell Junction. We did a refuel at Bramwell Junction.
We also refueled our bodies. And
then we bought some breakfast. And when I said to you about the cost of living up here, it was $28 for 2 bacon and egg rolls. And they were just nothing special. It was about 2 pieces of bacon and 1 egg on this roll, and they $14. I didn't even have a look at the menu. I
didn't even see a menu, actually.
I just ordered a bacon and egg, or 2 bacon and egg rolls, and then when she said $28, I nearly fainted. I was like, are you shitting me? So then we sped off. Now the road all the way up to the Jardine Ferry was really, really good. Again, there was a couple of really bad dips, especially the first one after Bramwell Junction, where there was water over half of the causeway, and just about everybody was driving around the water, so the ruts that were in the dry were as deep as buggery. There was that one, and there was another one quite a bit further up, but the roads in all were excellent. Apparently the Queensland government, from the start of the dry season to the start of the wet season, they're constantly gradering the roads to try and keep the corrugation down. And I found the roads to be really good. Most of the time I was sitting on again between 85 and 95. And just hooking along this road, and it was really good. Just before Jardine Ferry, about, I don't know, 15-20 k's from Jardine Ferry, the corrugation became quite bad, to the point where like shit was just vibrating off the dash, and so we had to slow down quite a bit for that,
and move over to the side,
and move over, like basically off the road entirely. And drive up sort of between your guide poles and the bush. You can see where other cars have just moved right off the road and formed these tracks. Like as soon as we started hitting some rough corrugation, I was like moving over into those tracks. And then we got to the Jardine Ferry. That was great. Just walked in, car crossing the ferry. It's only like a 30-metre crossing, if that. Ferry is $110 for just a car, or $175 if you're towing a trailer. I mean, that might sound steep, but incorporated into that is your permit to drive on the beaches and to camp in the national park. So I think that's a fair price when you think of how much it costs you to go to Moreton or Straddie and that. I think that was a reasonable price, and the other thing too is that it only takes like 10 minutes for the ferry to go over with a load and come back with a load. When we first arrived, we got to the ferry at 10 o'clock in the morning, pretty much right on the tick of 10. So, and then when we got it, and we were like the first car in the queue to go across to the tip, and then when we got to the other side, there would have been 15-20 cars sitting there waiting to come back. So like everybody trying to get off first thing in the morning. But in saying that, I would think that the queue would go fairly quickly because of how short the trip is with to go on across on it.
Depends, I guess. People have commented about they've had to wait 2 hours, but I suppose if everyone's checking out at the same time, there's going to be a queue, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right.
So be prepared if you're camping up there.
Yeah, well, that's dead set. But then you cross the ferry. I did get told that the roads on the northern side of the ferry were not in good shape. And when we first started driving, they weren't, were they? But then we'd only been driving on the dirt road for about 10 minutes, and here's a grader leveling the road again. So again, we ended up having a nice smooth trip. When we got up to near Punsand, the thing that both Sam and I found amazing was the lack of signage.
Yeah.
Of telling you like which direction to go.
When we got up there, we finally had service on our phone, and internet dongle. So I ended up putting it in my phone because my phone had like the tip. I could type in the tip and it would take us there, whereas the GPS wouldn't. So it was only because of that we even knew where to go. Yeah, that's right, because there was just no signs. I mean, there were signs saying, Punsand Bay Caravan Park and Loyalty Beach, and that... There was a sign that said, what's the actual name of the tip?
Najuru?
Oh, I thought it started with a P. Whatever it was, and I actually said, oh, what's that? And you went, that's the tip, and then we suddenly turned because there was a sign pointing to the... Because I was looking at like the map itself, not on the GPS, but on the paper map, and I saw that name right next to the tip, and I said, that's where we have to go. And then Sam was able to get it on her phone. So we followed that, and wow. It was beautiful. It was just, like, I don't know why, but in my mind, I sort of thought that the vegetation would be like, grass, a few trees, a lot of like granite and stuff like that. And then, we were driving along, and for about 15 or 20 k's before the tip, we're driving through this tropical rainforest. It was just beautiful. And before that, it was even like it changed so many times. Didn't it? Yeah. It was like bush, like farmland type bush, and then it was like just shrubs. There were no tall trees. It was just shrubbery.
Yeah.
And then rainforest. It was just, yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was the changing in the landscape was just, but this tropical jungle just or rainforest just blew me away. It was like, it was so thick, and it was such a pretty drive.
We saw the brumbies.
Oh, yeah,
I
good
saw
pickup.
some
Good
wild
pickup.
horses.
Yeah,
I was so excited.
Lo and behold, this town that you drive through before you go up towards the tip, which is the same one that we got fuel at. Like, here's all these brumbies. There would have been about 30 or 40 of them just on the side of the road.
Just having a good old time in the grass.
In this town, just having a chew on the grass on the side of the road, and because then, you know, obviously as we got further north, we saw more in amongst the bush and all that. So yeah, there are quite a few brumbies up there. And then we got to the last, like, there's this one last creek crossing that you have to do before the tip, which is it's only about 5 k's from the tip, if that. So when I was we were the fourth car in this little bit of a convoy that was traveling on the road, and the first car, when we come up to this creek crossing, the first car went to the right, and I just assumed that that's the direction the road went, and then the second and third went straight ahead, and what it was is that there's this creek crossing, and then around to the right there was this very shallow bit of water, and then dry, and cars can go around that to avoid going through the water. And when I watched the car or the second car, when I watched it go through and then the car in front of us go through, there was one spot in the river crossing where, like, both those cars on the driver's side dipped really deep into the water, so there's obviously a bit of a hole there. So I decided to go around. I don't have a snorkel on my car, and I didn't want to risk it. So I went around it and then off up to the top. And then when we got to the tip, again, first of all, there was 4 portaloos there.
Yep.
And like I said to Sam, I said, I've got to go to the toilet. And I said, do you need to go? And she's like, if I did, I'm still not. So, and I don't blame her. They were disgusting. And so then we started heading down towards the beach, because again, there is just no signs from this car park at the very top. There is just no signs on where you have to go to find this marker that says,
where do you go? Is there a path?
There was another couple that was arrived pretty much the same time as us, and they were sort of walking around wondering where to go. And so they asked some people that were already there, and they said, you just walk out onto the beach, follow the beach around to the right. And
what they said was there was a tour group with some oldies.
Oldies, that's right, yeah.
So if you and they went around the front of the beachway. So if you want to go that way, because the other couple were old.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so.
And I don't even know if they said. I think they just said to go that way, didn't they?
Yeah. That's all they said. So
that way.
So we just tagged along with this elderly couple from New South Wales. Around the beach, and it was a very comfortable walk.
Yeah.
Around there.
Again, I was in thongs.
Yeah, we both were, but spectacular. I mean, the water
Beautiful.
Was just...
The colour.
It was just a different blue from, like what you see down on the Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast and that. It was just a different blue. It was just beautiful. And then these couple of these big-ass islands that were only, like 150 metres from the top. But yeah, just beautiful. We followed the beach around and then sort of started to climb up onto this rocky outcropping, and then lo and behold, there was the sign. So
we got our mandatory selfies.
Before that, we started walking down towards where the plaque was, because that was our whole goal, was to get a selfie at the very top, or the northernmost part of mainland Australia. And I turned to Sam and I said, I haven't locked the car. And what I was talking about was all the back of my car. So I had 2 jerry cans full of diesel in there, my fridge. So then obviously I had nothing but worry then about, you know, like, so especially the fuel. I mean, if somebody had seen those jerry cans and grabbed it with the price of fuel, you know, like there's $100, $120 just sitting there. And so we got our selfie with the plaque, and then this guy said, oh, do you want me to take a photo of you? Which was really lovely, and because we said yeah, so we moved as far as we could on that little strip of stone to make us even more north, and got our photos done. And then I just said to Sam, I said, I have to go back and lock the car up. I sped off back. Sam stayed.
I climbed to the freaking top and I'm dying. You can't really tell. Let me swing you around. Well, those people are over there. You go down and there's another hill back over there. You got to climb up and down. But where those cars are down there, that's where I'm headed back. But this is just beautiful. If I was more fit, obviously, I would enjoy this a lot more. Some advice: if you're coming up here, hold on to your hats because they blow off. Mine blew into the ocean, but a good Samaritan saved it for me.
But I basically followed the path that went over these like hills, not back along the beach. And then there was, like, at the top of one of the hills there was this plaque, but I didn't stop to read it. I just kept going and got back to the car. Fortunately, nothing was missing. That's when I had my next lot of troubles. When I got back to the car and, you know, made sure that there was nothing missing, I thought I'd grab a couple of bottles of water, like cold water out of the fridge, and then race back to Sam, and because foolishly we went for this walk, not knowing how far it was that we had to go, and we didn't have any water with us or anything. So
it was stinking hot, and
it was a very hot day. I grabbed a couple of, like, I pulled the slide out for the fridge, grabbed a couple of waters out of the bottle, out of the fridge, went to push the slide back in, and it wouldn't go back in. When I bought my drawers, everyone said, check all the nuts and make sure they're all tight, and use some Loctite on them, because they were all quite loose. So I did all that, but there was one bolt that I missed. So where it's located, I have to remove 32 nuts off the top of the driver's side drawer, so that I can get into this little access panel where there's this one tiny little screw, and as soon as it vibrates out a little bit, the screw gets caught on where that access panel is, and you can't close it. There's just nothing you can do to close it. You have to, like, strip it down, screw it back in, and then you'll be able to close it. I started doing all that, and I wasn't even halfway through doing all that when Sam showed back up, and I was like, I grabbed you some cold water, sweetheart, but I never made it there. So the electrical panel on my board, none of that was lit up, and I was like, oh. So when I was putting the drawers back together after screwing the screw in, I noticed that one of my positive wires that runs from my King's board to my battery had pulled loose. So I went around and opened up my battery case and had a look inside, and I noticed that my battery had moved, and I can only put it down to with the corrugation of the roads and
really
the potholes and the potholes that we'd hit had moved the battery, and it had moved the battery that much that it had pulled this wire. The only thing that I had was some plumber's tape, so I just, like, wrapped shitloads of this plumber's tape around the wire, and then we headed headed off. And that was the tip of Australia. Tick. Yeah. stopped at that town that had the Brumbies.
That's
Got
right,
fuel.
Oh, fresh bread.
And like, I can't believe we've got to drive all the way to the very top to find some fresh bread. Even Woolworths in Weipa, you can't buy fresh bread. You can only buy frozen. It is just like ridiculous. There was just zero queue at the river crossing.
Yep.
So we was just straight onto
the only one there.
Yeah, that's right. So we were just straight onto the ferry, and then we were across and then headed home. We got home at 6 o'clock.
I think it was about 5:30. Because we were talking about how it was 12 hours exactly.
That's right. Yep, exactly. 12 hours. It was 12 hours from us leaving this campsite to us driving into this campsite.
Yeah.
It was 12 hours. That's right. 5:30. So that was it. We'd done the tip. We got a photo. We got a photo to prove it. So a big thank you to both Mickey Welsh and to my brother Terry, because what I learnt from them with setting up my car, there would be no way that I would have been confident enough to fix that myself. Yeah, thanks guys. And then yesterday,
Guys, it's the 10th of July today, and I'm just sitting here editing the next video that's going to go up on Thursday, and I just thought I'd pop in and say hi. Reg is actually off helping the farmer here. His name's Cameron. We were over there for dinner the other night, and you know, Reg said, if you need some help, mate, let us know, and I'll come and help you. And finally let us know today, so Reg has gone and done that.
So yesterday he come down and he said, you're right to give me a hand this afternoon and after lunch, and I was, yeah, absolutely. So in the afternoon, yesterday afternoon, we went for a drive in his 4-wheel drive and went out and repaired one of his flood fences across the creek line. So yeah, that was good. It was good to sit down with Cam, and it's 419,000 acres that they've got here. So we went out to this creek to repair a flood fence, and it took us like 40 minutes to get there. So it's not a small yard. So that's it.
Yep, heading off on Thursday. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe.
Thumbs up.
And we'll see you in the next video.
Bye. The next morning, Goanna.
Where?
Walking across the grass.
Yeah. No wildlife, my ass.
Yeah, so the next morning and then last night, Sam cooked chicken snitties and a potato bacon. It was just superb.
After your long day working on the farm.
Oh yeah.
I had to fill your belly.
My whole like 4 hours.
You were gone for a while. What are you doing? I can't see him.
No, trees in the road. Yeah, I still think we waffled, or I waffled.
You waffled, I barely spoke.